2017 Riverton City Council Finance Committee meeting to order at 6:47 p.m. The chair would entertain a motion for the consideration of claims.
So moved.
You have to read it.
I have to read it?
Yeah, you have to read all of those numbers.
I would move that we consider claims to be paid in the amount of $984,756.15. Checks written for payroll liabilities for 6/9 and 6/23/17 in the amount of $498,591.83, and manual checks in the amount of $221,330.08 for a total of $1,704,678.06.
Do I have a second?
Second?
It has been properly moved and seconded. Does anyone have any questions on the bills? That's where you read that.
Okay. Madam Chairman,
Yes.
in May, we had a claim of $110 that was removed from the bills to be paid until more information had been received, and it's our position that dues to service organizations should be shouldered by the individual council member, not the city.
Okay, do you have any discussion on that?
I think that's true.
Okay. So then we will deny this claim. You guys want to take that back, and then he'll just have to pay it out of his own instead. And then from here on out, as far as the council, we will not be paying those.
So do we have a policy regarding city staff? What do we do there normally?
Your Honor?
Yes?
Yes, we do. Well, for department heads, it's in their contract that they shall be involved in a service organization, and we have paid for staff members. We've also paid for the mayor, I believe, in the last 2 years for his involvement in a service club organization. To my knowledge, I don't believe, thank you, that we have had other elected officials that have belonged to service organizations that we have paid their dues.
Okay.
Well, we do have people belonging to other ones. We just don't pay their actual dues, correct?
I'm not sure of anyone else that belongs, an elected official that belongs to a service organization other than the mayor and Mr. Hancock.
Multiple.
Oh,
There you go.
So
sorry.
again, I think we've got to draw a line somewhere, and I guess if we all decide we all should be involved in one, then we could move on. But I think for now, I think we ought to just keep it at the mayor and the staff, management to do that.
Contractually, I think that we stay with contracts with the council. It's not a contractual obligation. We voted for the job, we ran for the job, and then for us to expect the city to pay for what we want to pick and choose, I don't think that is in the best interest of the city.
Great.
I would agree.
So then, we have to vote on any of that?
You have a motion on the floor now to pay the claims, right?
Yeah,
So
but do we-
I would finish that motion, then do another motion denying that claim to be paid.
Okay, so then,
So call for a question on the motion that I brought up.
vote first and then do that one? Right?
I already moved.
Oh, so then we vote and then we do that one?
Right.
Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion passes. And then,
I would move that we deny the claim for $110 for Tim Hancock for the service organization.
Second?
okay, it has been properly moved and seconded that we deny the claim for Tim Hancock for $110. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion passes. Is there any,
To adjourn.
wait,
Oh, okay.
my meeting, hold on. Is there any other business that we need to deal with?
Absolutely not.
Okay, then, meeting adjourned.
17 regular meeting of the Riverton City Council to order at 7 p.m. Would Councilmember Bailey lead us in the pledge, and I'll offer an invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we are grateful for the opportunity that we have to serve as the governing body for the city of Riverton. And we pray always for thy Spirit to guide and direct us, that we might be mindful of the needs of the citizens of Riverton, and that we will base our decisions on what would be best for everybody in town. We're thankful for the opportunity we have to serve, and we look forward to our meeting this evening, and we do it in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Would the city clerk please conduct a roll call?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilman Mike Bailey.
Here.
Councilman Kyle Larson.
Present?
Councilwoman Holly Gibbon. Here. Mayor John Baker.
I am present. I'd entertain a motion to excuse council members Godey, Hancock, and Peterson from tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye, and the motion passes. I declare that we do have a quorum. The chair will entertain a motion for approval of the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the agenda? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye, and the motion, any opposed? No. Mayor votes aye, and the motion passes. Is there communications from the floor, citizens' comments? Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding an item that is already on the agenda will be given an opportunity to speak later on. I would ask those individuals who wish to address the council at this time to approach the podium and identify yourselves for the record.
Good evening. I didn't see that I was on the agenda, so I was supposed to report back for after the Alive at 5, which I think was an amazing success for our first time out and on such short notice. So we have a few things to work on, and I did provide some information for your packets. Okay. Did you have any questions or anything that I can say other than this? I do want to talk a little bit about the possibility of putting a banner up there at City Park in front on Main Street, facing Main Street, right there at that three-way light. A bigger banner. We're working on getting that taken care of, but we need permission from the city to put it up there. And the gate. Let's discuss the gate, Mayor.
The gate.
The gate. The gate into the fenced-off area for the beer garden.
Yes.
Well, we talked about it several different ways, 2 or 3 different ways. So
Okay.
what are we going to do, and how are we going to make that happen?
But let's. I don't know that. I don't.
Well, we talked about it a little bit. You and I talked about it, and then
Yeah.
you spoke briefly about it with that you and Kyle Butterfield had walked the premise over there and
did.
had talked about putting a gate in and what the possibilities of that might be. And that was the end of the discussion because everything started happening really fast.
Really fast, right.
So
Let's try to get a gate.
I would make a proposal
Okay.
that we will get the chamber membership will get the materials donated. Is there any way the city people could do the gate, install it?
Well, I hate to commit on that without being able to talk to Kyle, but what do you think, Courtney? Could we commit to that?
I think we could, Your Honor.
Okay. All right.
So we'll get the materials?
Yeah, you get the materials, we'll put the gate in.
Okay,
All right?
will do. The other thing that was missed last time we discussed at the council meeting that we would spray before the event, that didn't happen. And I have bites on my legs from the mosquitoes eating on me. And I am not the only one.
I'm sorry.
I'm the least favorite person for mosquitoes to bite, and they chewed on me.
And then, I know. Mhm. Okay, so our program started Monday, right?
Your Honor, it started last Thursday, one day after. I think what Mrs. Bland is talking about is they had requested mosquito spraying 1 week prior to when we began mosquito spraying, and that's where mosquito spraying 101 comes in handy.
We just weren't, I think, fired up, ready to go.
Okay.
And so that's where the problem comes in. And we started a program now, and so everything inside the city and actually quite a little bit of ground outside the city limits is going to get fogged on a weekly basis. And that should have some kind of impact, but we have to be aware that Riverton sits in the middle of roughly 250,000 acres of flood, irrigated and flooded river bottom, all producing mosquitoes, and they drift up to 5 miles a day on the wind. And so while we can knock some adults down, with a fogging program, we're still going to see some mosquito issues. So, but we will be focused on that. Our challenge is that, let's see. Okay, here, so there are insecticides that we could use that are almost instantaneous, so that we could drive by at 5 o'clock and lay a fog out across the park and knock all the mosquitoes right out of the sky. Okay, but then we'd also expose everybody that's in the park to that insecticide, and while that's legal, we'd still have to do some notification because there are people who would object to that. But what we do use is malathion, and malathion takes 24 hours. So the most important thing about a malathion treatment program is to be consistent with it, so that we're doing it on a weekly basis and we're there at the right time of day in order to be effective.
So we would want to do it 24 hours in advance, the day before the event?
At least, yeah. So we could check the map, okay, and make sure that, and see, and I guess there's nothing wrong with us, doing an extra. If we had some idea of, something that was going on. It's just that we have to have quite a little bit of lead time in order to make that effective. So,
The next event is July 19th.
July 19th.
Yes.
So we've got plenty of time to figure that out. Mike?
Your Honor, and you are the mosquito expert, of course, but I guess, would it be possible if we looked at the calendar for this summer, let's say, and planning around the Alive at Fives and the Day in the Park and some of those other events, that we could maybe, tweak that schedule occasionally to make it to where the day before, for example, we are hitting the park, so that we can minimize not that we're going to hit the park twice as much as we normally would, but just if they normally get hit on Thursdays and this event's on Wednesday, we could do it on Tuesday or something like
That's
that.
sure.
And I guess we could just look at that calendar maybe and
Try to
tweak things around without getting beyond our permit and all that.
Our
kind of stuff,
allowable
so we don't
limits,
get
yeah.
ourselves issues there.
Well, let's we'll work on that with mosquito folks.
I don't mean to be a wet blanket, but I know several stores that sell that repellent. It's quite cheap. You probably could stock some, bring some in your purse.
Well, I did have some.
You knew in several weeks in advance, so depending upon the city to solve your problems, carry your own mosquito
I
repellent.
think that City Park is the city's responsibility,
garden.
correct?
Beer garden isn't.
Well,
Not just talking about the beer garden, Mr. Larson, I'm talking
I
about
understand that.
the food vendors and the bouncy house and all of the whole park where people were in the grass and
I understand all of that, and for the city to be responsible for all of that is more than beyond the pale. But for citizens to be responsible for their own care is their responsibility.
go ahead, Holly.
So then if that's the case, then we sprayed down at the Little League field, so then technically we shouldn't have done that, right? And they should have been responsible for their own care as well. But their event was a day before, and we sprayed down there, even though we knew their event was going to be, and we were the ones that approved it, and we even made it publicly known that we were going to come down to City Park and spray.
In your pocket.
I'm just saying, we as a council approved that, and we said that we were going to accommodate these guys.
We did accommodate.
They, last minute, called up and said, hey, can you come down and spray? And we went down and sprayed there, but we didn't run past City Park. Just saying, like, if we're gonna make it fair for everybody, I think.
And it was said at the last council meeting that we would spray before that event. And
Yep.
so that's the reason that I'm raising it.
Right, understood. Sorry that we failed.
Well, I'm sorry that I didn't provide bug spray for 150 people.
That's okay. So the issue for us, okay, and this is, and so we've had a little discussion on email here with council. Okay, but the issue for us is that the city of Riverton has a permit with the Environmental Protection Agency to actually apply that insecticide. And it has to be applied in a particular way at a particular time, and we have to do it according to the EPA rules. If we fail to follow the rules, basically the city of Riverton is subject to a fine for every day that we have done it wrong. And the fine is $37,500 each day, each occurrence. Okay, so what we've tried to construct is a plan. Unfortunately, what happens when you have a plan, sometimes it gets rigid. And so then we have a hard time making adjustments to that. So part of what we have to do is work with our staff so that they can be a little bit more flexible and we can figure out a way to do maybe a better job of what we're trying to accomplish. Okay? And so that's the challenge that we face. But even under the best of conditions, we're never going to be mosquito-free.
Oh, no, and I understand that.
Okay?
I think that just getting it down to a dull roar would be acceptable as far as I'm concerned. But as Holly said, they sprayed the ball field the day before on a last-minute notice, and we discussed it at the last council meeting.
I understand that.
So I'm just pointing, I'm
I understand.
not trying to be adversarial or,
Okay.
I'm just,
And the reality is we should turn down the ball diamond, okay? Because what we hadn't done was advertise one of the requirements that we need, okay?
and I respect that, and I certainly don't want the city to do anything wrong and be,
But we could have been a little bit more proactive about it. What's interesting is that the first week in June, we had no mosquitoes in traps. The second week in June, we had 2 mosquitoes in traps. 2. That's all I managed to get. That's not a threshold for treatment.
No.
Okay. Then the next week, we wind up with 300. So then we've got threshold. Okay, so then you run an ad, then you have to have the ad out for a week, and then you can move ahead. We started spraying the 6th of June a year ago, but on the 6th of June a year ago, we were getting 300 mosquitoes in a trap. So mosquito cycle is 2 weeks late this year. So we just kind of got caught there on that. So that's where the challenge for us comes in, is that it isn't something that's purely discretionary. Okay?
I appreciate and respect that.
All right.
And also, I would ask if there's some way that we could do it. Mike suggested,
We'll work on it. We'll work on it.
so I appreciate that. And like I said, I think we had a huge success, and I'm really quite happy with the way that it turned out, and I think we can grow it from here. Lots of positive comments
Good.
from the folks that were there, and even people that weren't there that didn't attend for one reason or another, but did
Well,
give
we're
us
going to try
positive
to.
comments. They heard good.
Okay, so let's try to summarize this. So if we had better mosquito control, people would be happier.
Yes,
Okay.
that was the only real complaint that I got about the whole thing.
So then but then we didn't have a gate in the fence.
Yeah, and people had to walk around a little bit. I know, it's a little more exercise. It's not the end of the world, but we will do our part to improve the property at the city for use for anyone to
Right.
put that gate in.
Right,
The council will, or the chamber will do that.
okay.
I will
I
We
think
will get it figured out.
I think we'll have that, we'll try to have that figured out before the next one.
Yes,
All right,
we'll get it gathered.
okay,
Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all.
all right.
Do you need a
Your Honor?
motion on the gate?
Would you like a motion on the gate?
No.
No, okay.
Your Honor, just for your information, the council's information, that old skate park equipment was supposed to be removed by Job Corps today.
Okay,
Seems like everything's falling in place for that area.
finally, huh?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So that was the other challenge that we were faced down there, was all that old equipment in there. So I guess that's going to go away, and we'll try to make that more useful. Okay. Anything else from the floor? Okay. Consent agenda. Would the city clerk please read the consent agenda items by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Approval of the minutes, June 5th, 2017, work session council meeting. Approval of the minutes, June 6th, 2017, regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes, June 13th, 2017, special council meeting. Approval of the minutes, June 29th, 2017, finance committee meeting. Approval of the finance committee recommendations for June 29th, 2017. Approval of an open container permit application for the Boot Bar on July 8th, 2017 for a fundraiser at 702 East Main from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock p.m. Then approval of ordinance number 17-013 on second reading. Proposed ordinance number 17-013 by title only. An ordinance amending Title IX, Public Peace, Morals, and Welfare. Chapter 9.08, Offenses Against Public Peace and Decency. Repealing sections 9.08.090, vagrancy, of the Riverton Municipal Code, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith, and providing for an effective date. Approval of ordinance number 17-014 on second reading. Proposed ordinance number 17-014 by title only. An ordinance amending Title 10, Vehicles and Traffic, Chapter 10.12, additional traffic regulations, repealing sections 10.12.010, obstruction of crossings by railroads, time limit, and 10.12.130, right-hand turn at red light of the Riverton Municipal Code, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Are there any items requiring further discussion?
Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Recommendations from the Finance Committee for bills to be paid in the amount of $984,756.15. Checks written for payroll liability for 6/9/17 and 6/23/17 in the amount of $498,591.83. Manual checks in the amount of $221,330.08 for a total of $1,704,678.06.
The chair will entertain a motion.
I would move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second?
And Your Honor, I would abstain from the Bailey Enterprises and Wex items on the finance report.
All those in favor, or is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye, and the motion passes. Next item is public hearing, consideration of fireworks permit application, Riverton Rendezvous Balloon Rally. City Clerk's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. The City Clerk's office has received an application for a fireworks permit from the Riverton Rendezvous Committee. And it's for their 37th annual balloon rally. It'll be at Valley View on July 15th from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. They have received a letter of recommendation from the fire chief, and we also have attendance as required for the public hearing, and they have attached a site plan. Staff is recommending approval.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to open public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye. I now declare the public hearing to be open. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes and other applicable laws. I'd ask those individuals wishing to address the council to approach the podium and identify yourselves for the record. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak?
Good evening, Your Honor, Council. We are a little over 2 weeks away from the 37th Annual Balloon Rally. Hopefully everyone's familiar with it. So, yes, as is our usual practice, we would like to hold fireworks on Saturday evening, the 15th. Have the approvals and recommendations from the fire chief, and the fire department will be on site. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I think we're good.
Go ballooning.
Go Balloons. Okay.
Your Honor, seeing no other takers, I move that we close the public hearing.
Second?
All those in favor of closing public hearing?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye, and I declare that the public hearing is closed.
Your Honor, I would move that we approve the fireworks permit application for the rendezvous.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye, and the motion passes. Veterans Park update, Kent Cook.
Your Honor, Council, thank you very much for allowing me to have this time. I have a number of points to make, the most important being a reminder of our choice of July 6th, Thursday, for our rededication ceremony of Veterans Memorial Park. Now, I start with that because when we spoke before, it was suggested that we set a time at 10 a.m. In meeting with the veterans, and particularly those who work outside of city employees, we're requesting a time of 5 p.m., 5 to 6 p.m. In fact, we think that it will run closer to 40 minutes than it would a full hour. But if I may, and I don't mean to be rude to the viewing audience, but I have some things to pass out.
Go right ahead.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are some things that I need to explain, and so I'll await any of your questions or a recommendation on the time.
The only question that I have is, where did this, was there some reason that 11 o'clock in the morning was the time to do it, or?
Well, the point was made a month ago that to allow city employees to attend the ceremony, if they would so choose, they would be allowed to come from their place of work if they could. And so that was our only understanding of the 10 a.m. time, that in fact they would come to the ceremony, since it's a part of city property and the city park, that the collection, a large number of employees might more easily attend.
I see. Is there any setup that the city would need to do, chairs, tables, that type of thing?
None. We'll handle all, the veterans will handle.
Okay, so I think the only thing that I see associated with the city, and I could be wrong, would be the overtime issues of city staff having to set up for it and take down, but do you see any problem with 5 o'clock?
No.
Okay, 5 o'clock,
Oh.
all right.
If I can proceed then, as you look down through the agenda, and I'll go through that briefly, but please stop me at any point, and in deference to me being the typist, I'm the one who incorrectly listed your name, Your Honor. But I'll begin with...
Lars Baker's okay,
Thank you very much.
all right?
By parade and placement, we mean that 6 veterans holding the service flags, Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Merchant Marine, and Air Force, they will be individuals stationed on the pavement in front of and to the side of the walk-in entrance. That'll be as much of the parade as there is. They will come in, they will place their individual flags, and then proceed to the side while we then have the invocation. Following that, and we will start the ceremony with the American flagpole bear. We will have taken down the flag that is currently flying so that we may raise a new and larger flag. We will have the flag that currently flies at the park already folded into the side, and I'll explain that later as we go down the agenda. Then there will be a commander's call for a salute to the flag. Those veterans in uniform and for the citizenry public to join us all in the Pledge of Allegiance. Then, if we may, Your Honor, invite you for a brief introductory statement of your choosing. If you would like, we'll can something together, and it'll all be pointed toward Navy and Marine Corps.
I see.
Oh, no.
So you'll let me take the heat for the choice of service organizations that I
That is correct.
talk about. I see. Okay. All right.
But also later, and I'll explain that, to join me in the ribbon-cutting ceremony. This is taking you by surprise, however, so it is a draft agenda. And if you are available at 5 p.m., that is especially grand. If you have the power to defer to one other of the council.
I'm checking my calendar right
Wonderful.
now, and I am available.
Thank you, sir.
And I'll be glad to be there.
All right, thank you very much. And I will take this time, all of you are, as you can be, welcome and invited. We will have seating for yourself and other dignitaries whom I will explain here. And we will have separate seating of limited number chairs closer to the south parking area for members of the public and veterans who are not really physically able to stand for the full ceremony. Our guest speaker has approved joining us, and I won't have a particular introduction for Scott Ratliff unless he asks it, as much as I have written here as much as he asked for originally when I spoke to him. Then, thanks to the Chamber of Commerce and their offering to us their ribbon cutting materials, we'll have a ribbon spread at the entrance, the walk-in entrance to the center of the park. And for those of you who've had a chance to go out and look, and if the name Jerry Dick is familiar to you, he has a very special stone because he's one of very many Riverton and Fremont County veterans, both living and deceased, who deserve greater attention than others. And those of you who know the Jerry Dick family may know more about that even than I. But we will have the rededication ribbon cutting. We will retire the ceremonial flag, and in doing so, that is the flag that flies there now. We will have it folded, and we will have the Honor Guard veterans unfold it in front of all of us, and then refold it in its triangle pattern appropriately, and it will be presented to the Jerry Dick family members who are present. We will then have the laying of the wreath, and we don't have a request from the Griffith family, but they will be given specific invitation to come, and our large ceremonial wreath will be placed by proper military ceremony in front of the battlefield cross honoring Command Sergeant Major Kevin Griffin. Following that, we'll have one of our chaplains give the benediction. We will have the rifle salute, and that is a cross-member group of service veterans. If it is the Marine Corps League alone that presents the rifle salute, they will be in their particular red jacket uniform. Following that, we'll have taps, and just a few word statement by me, a closing, and a thank you to everyone, and safe travels home to everyone. And that's our ceremony.
Good. I've watched, over the last couple months as you guys have made improvements out there, and I am impressed with the way it looks. It's just really outstanding, and you've made a significant contribution to our little piece of park behind City Hall.
All right, wonderful.
Okay? It's just really outstanding to us, and we think it's a huge improvement, and I appreciate seeing all the veterans that have showed up there to work the concrete and build the forums, and been a terrific effort, and appreciate your service.
Be happy
your
to
continued service.
Thank you.
To the city of Riverton.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I do have some logistical things about the ceremony itself and the continuation of construction at the park. I would like to begin. We finally have the engineer certified and stamped plans for our picnic shelter. A discouraging delay that we've gotten it, but I have a set, if I may present them to you, Ms. Lewis. We have made application for our building permit. We'll need to pay that fee, but we've been waiting on these plans from them. It wouldn't surprise me at all if City offices have a huge pile of steel and aluminum show up at any time. We don't know where our building materials are at, but we know that we know two things. We finally have approved plans, and the company has cashed the check.
Check.
So now we're just waiting. And it's the delay in receiving these plans. We have had permission to begin the groundwork where the picnic shelter will be, and perhaps those of you who have been out there and seen the 4 stakes, we pull those when it's time to mow and set them back in place so that we can get a sod cutter and get ready for Job Corps. However, we need to have them now start their process to get their student trainees armed and ready to actually come in and do the dirt work, set the forms, pour the cement in slabs. We have the concrete donated to us. Those 2 companies are just waiting to receive the go-ahead. But the instructor engineer at Job Corps and his trainees are the one will do all of that work as soon as we can get the go-ahead, and hope we'll get that going while we still have construction season. There may be problems that we think about individually, or that some of you, Chief Murphy, have some concerns about. One of those has been, and we haven't approached you, but we know we're creating a traffic pattern difficulty. And I'll use myself as an example because I'm at fault. When there's no vehicle actually blocking the drive in front of all of your cruisers out there, I take the short path because my home is on this side of town. However, we know that there's a risk every time someone other than an individual veteran on a motorcycle or on a vehicle drive through there, because people, one, they don't know where the park is, and 2, if they know where it is, they don't know how to get to it. And so I'll get to one of the items, and that is signage and arrows, etc. But Chief, if I may set an appointment with you at a later time, sometime after next week, but before the 6th, so that we can have some kind of a plan. We know that we'll have citizenry entering for the ceremony from 2 directions. We're going to do our part to try and get them to enter from Pershing Avenue side. Now, I've talked to the owners at the warehouse, and they're really excited about all the traffic they can get, particularly if it stops at their business, and I don't blame them at all. But that is such a narrow pathway where that very small sign that says Veterans Park with the arrow is pointed. I've also talked to the managers at the Family Dollar building and the Lincare Oxygen building. That is a much wider driveway, even though it's in front of their business. There's a lot of parking there, and we've offered to paint stripe their inner parking lines and their cement curbing, just so that it's more eye-catching as traffic comes through there. But that's the channel that we're going to encourage people to take, and then we have permission for parking purposes only to use that large open lot area between the Lincare end of that business building and the walking path and Veterans Park. So that is our plan, but we're also open to any suggestions that any of you would have. And even with looking at it as you have time to, and then getting in touch with and saying, this is what you need to do. We do have one request at this point. On the 6th, if the city vehicles and employees who have space to park on our west side between your city building and the Veterans Park itself, in preparation for all that we're going to be doing on foot, we're asking that employees consider not parking in their designated spots that afternoon, because we're going to start at 5, and if shifts end at 5, then there'll be that short amount of time where there's a distraction. So I ask you to just consider that. And now I can continue with the next couple of items unless there are some questions.
No, go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead. I think we can we put
Next,
a sign out or something to block that alley that evening? I don't even know who parks back there, but
Mrs. Lures and I were just discussing, Your Honor, that she'll take care of that. Most of that is the staff that she oversees, and she'll make sure
Okay.
that area is vacant.
okay,
thank you.
Your Honor, may I say something real quick?
go ahead.
So when we had Kevin Griffiths memorial, we knew there was going to be a bunch of people, so we actually blocked off right where you come around that corner on this side,
Yes.
so that people had room to stand, because we knew there was not going to be enough room in the park for everyone.
All right.
So we could also do that.
That's fantastic. Yes, and I'm going to be happy to come and visit with you or any of your staff members who can guide me so that I can guide
Absolutely.
veterans. All right.
So we'll just do it basically how we did Kevin Griffiths memorial, and that worked out really well.
Great.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Next is signage, and this is farther reaching. I haven't mentioned it to this point because I misunderstood what I wanted to hear from the Highway Department, YDOT, with the North Federal rebuild, in that we want to take advantage of that rebuilding so that we can make the entries to the park a lot more noticeable, but within the means of the construction crews themselves. So for instance, one of our veterans put together this by hand, this example, and the thought is to build signage for the park, 4x8 or something smaller perhaps, that would be compatible and appropriate along with the brick foundation that is built at the street edge of City Hall's parking area. There is the triangular brickwork out front that shows Riverton city offices. If the highway department or the construction crews are going to save your structure, the city structure, and then replace it, we're only asking to consider that the veterans be allowed to work with you and also to help pay for signage that could go along with that, because the city offices are here and the park is right here. So I put that bug in your ear for a later date, because we definitely want to replace the very small arrowed signs that are right next to the entrance, just past the Chopsticks restaurant, and then on Pershing as well. We know that we want to have a chance to work with the city when it's time to do something about the signage. And so that's why I bring this in this evening.
Sure, and so we don't actually know when that's going to take place. You understand, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
It just keeps moving on down the trail.
Absolutely.
Because they've got some, they have some real estate problems.
All right.
Okay, and so, but I'm guessing sometime next year.
All right.
We'll be working on that, and please keep in touch with Kyle Butterfield on that.
All right, thank you very much.
And see what we could work out so that we got a little better signage.
All right.
We certainly don't have any opposition to having better signage, okay?
And as you speak of next year, that brings me to my last item that has been on this update for a while in the original plan and the MOU with which the veterans signed with the city. And that is the painting of the west wall in mural form. And this has been a bit of a heartache and a headache for all of us, and we don't mind sharing that with you, but we know it's our problem. If I may, just with some help, just to pass two pictures, starting on one on each side, and then they can meet in the middle, and then I can retrieve them at the end. We have one written proposal for the artwork on our wall. And when we solicited this, we had, I could count them on one hand, but 4 to 6 persons who expressed interest in it. And invariably, their immediate question was, that's a big wall, how much are you going to pay us? So our Veterans Hall membership have met, our committee has met twice, and the general membership has met once to discuss the notion of, all right, what can we do? If we want this bad enough, can we raise some money to offer like an honorarium? And so we've come up with a dollar figure. Looking, as you have time to go back and really look at the west wall, there's space for 4 panels and 1 triangle folded flag space. And so we came up with, well, this is how much we think we can raise. Let's offer through Veterans Hall $2,000 per panel and see if we can attract more entries. And it must have been so discouraging to people that we have 1 entry. So with those 4 panels, we believe we can raise $8,000 to pay an honorarium. We cannot get it done this year. The work time and the commitment. Painting is this individual's livelihood and life's work. And you may know the name, John Cox. He submitted the only proposal. He agrees, if we have any remaining, because once before, very early in this project, there was discussion about, well, the city could provide some funds toward the paint and materials. Well, John Cox, his proposal eats up every bit of that, and that's even after we have 1 commercial painter who's agreed to paint the wall to start with an off-white. So there's a solid base that is fresh for an artist to begin with. Mr. Cox's proposal is for $20,000, and he wouldn't be able to begin until next summer after May. I'm not asking the city to make a decision. I'm putting another thought in your minds to consider your advice to us. What do we do and how can we go about getting it done? And is there possibility in next year's budgeting process, not for this year at all, but next year, what advice can you give us on an approach to try to come up with a $20,000 figure if we really do want that wall painted? We know we're past the grant session. Thanks to our recreation and that grant board, we have the what I call the battle monument, but it's the conflict monument that is in place that's completely paid for through the RREC grant, and we're very grateful to have that. We have the grant request yet into Fremont County Recreation Board. The advice that we were given is ask for the full amount. We did, $7,000. Hope that you get some of it. And what we've learned is when the county commissioners meet third week in July, they're going to have to trim so much that one of the first things they're likely to look at is the extras. And the recreation aspect and the grant requests that they have in hand, if any of them are approved, even in part, we won't know that until August, and that's quite a ways away in terms of what we know we're going to have to raise, what we have raised so far, and what we've spent so far. And with that, that concludes my visit with you this evening.
Well, thank you. And I think we've got some money budgeted right now.
$20,000?
No, I don't think so.
All right, well, I'll hang fire on John.
But we do have some extra cash.
Thank you.
That we can put into that, so we can match some dollars some way or something.
And we've even hoped, if that's a possibility, we know in the next grant writing season, we just need to get busy at those kinds of
Sure.
things. But also be upfront with him, because we found out this is their livelihood. So
Good.
we're disappointed that we only have one proposal. So I'll retrieve these then. If I may, I'll just let you continue your business, and I'll come back tomorrow to collect.
Pick that up? Okay, good. Thank you, Ken.
Have a safe evening.
You bet. Same to you. And we appreciate everything you've done. We hope we can make it look nice. Okay?
I'll convey that to everybody.
All right, thank you. The next item of business is public hearing and consideration of Resolution 1358, fiscal year 2016-17 budget amendment. Interim City Administrator's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Staff is recommending to the council that you pass resolution number 1358, which is amending the fiscal year 2016-17 budget. Statutorily, if you have cost centers that potentially can be over or are over at this point in time, this is the time that they have to be corrected. I have to say that I really commend city staff for the way they managed their budgets this year. They did an exceptional job to have only 3 cost centers, which I believe were not under their control. And I know that sounds kind of maybe, I don't know, So the three cost centers that were over was municipal court, law enforcement, and fireman pension. We don't know how many firemen served during a period of time. That number can change from 35 to 47, and so that number fluctuates all year long. In the municipal court and law enforcement, as you remember, we had a couple of employees leave. So when we have payouts of liabilities like vacation or anything else, those sums are things that we can't anticipate. Also, I believe we had 5 officers that had change of life events. Imagine that. They had a family. So when we planned that budget, and we have vacancies in certain areas in our budget, we do a employee plus spouse? Employee-only plan. So if someone comes in and they have a different, if they have an employee plus dependents, or employee plus spouse, or employee only, or family, that number has to change. We have 5 officers that number changed. So ultimately, it was 82.5 in the general fund and about 43,000 in the enterprise funds. And I believe this is a very, very minimal budget amendment. Again, there are no additional monies needed in this budget amendment. Those monies have already been appropriated for in different line items. Historically, we take that from capital because that's the easy one. We budgeted over $4 million in the North Federal, so technically you have $4 million that we could mess around with today, but we're only asking for 82.5. And so our recommendation is to pass resolution number 1358 for the budget amendment and put us in line with statutory requirements.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to open public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that we open public hearing on budget amendments. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. I now declare the public hearing to be open. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes and other applicable laws. I would ask those individuals wishing to address the council to approach the podium and identify yourselves for the record.
Your Honor, seeing none, I move that we close public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded to close public hearing. Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye, and the public hearing is closed. Chair would entertain a motion to approve Resolution 1358.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded to approve Resolution 1358. Any discussion?
Your Honor.
Go ahead, Kyle.
What was last year's adjustment? I don't remember. It's very, it was a nothing burger. It was not monumental because you guys keep the things so straight, but do you remember?
Your Honor, I absolutely do not remember.
So it wasn't significant.
No. And usually, historically, our budget amendments are very minimal.
Okay. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye, and the motion passes. Air Service Management Forecast, Inc. agreement. I guess it's my opportunity to talk about this. We have an agreement with an organization, the name of which is Forecast, Inc., okay? And what they do is that they have this kind of magical computer program, and they feed all kinds of data into that basically every day based on how many people got on the plane here. And then they look not only at Riverton and Sheridan, but they also look at all the other airports in Wyoming. And then they say, so this is what the average fare is statewide today. This is what it was last week. This is what it looks like for next week. This is how many seats are sold to date. This is what we can do, that type of thing. And so then they basically are the guys that manage this for us so that we get the absolute maximum revenue to the city of Riverton. That reduces the minimum revenue guarantee that we have to pay out. And so if we have a sale, those are the guys that say, yeah, this is the time to do it. If we raise the price, these are the guys that say it's time to raise the price because the price went up all over the state. We can get another $20 a ticket and still be competitive. And so they're constantly monitoring that, trying to make sure that the plane's as full as possible. Sometimes it's a little strange because we'll sell a ticket for $79 and we think, whoa, that's a pretty cheap seat when we know that it takes $180 to break even. We're giving away $100 on that seat, but that $79 seat otherwise would be an empty seat, and we would have lost $180 instead of $100. And so the $79 ticket actually makes more money for us. And so it's a little tricky to figure all that out. These guys do that. Unfortunately, it costs a lot of money. Last year, we paid them, I think, $6,000 a month to do this. And this year, the contract has been reduced to about $5,500 a month. And on top of that, there are some incentives built into the contract for performance. And so that's Kevin Krashiznik with Idea Inc., who's on FAST, has been dog on a bone with that incentive business for the last year, and they agreed to it. And so part of that money that they get is going to be based on what their actual revenue is that they are able to produce above and beyond a certain level. So we're hopeful that that will be a good deal. The contract is that we're currently under with them expires tomorrow. And so we've waited just as long as we possibly can to do this, but they've negotiated it very different, over the last couple of months. FAST and CAST, which is the comparable group in Sheridan, have worked together with Forecast to get this price down. And so it's for less money than it was last year, and there's some actual performance incentives built into the contract. It's as good a deal as we can get. If for us to get the state grant money that pays 60% of the minimum revenue guarantee, we have to have somebody like this manage the fares. So, any questions?
Weren't they looking at other companies also?
They did.
And so this was still a better deal for us, I'm sure?
They did.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, we did. We put it out for a request for qualifications. These guys come back as being there are other companies that do this, okay, but they're huge companies that manage United Airlines and Frontier and that
So
type
even
of.
the big guys use people like this? Yeah.
Yep, even the big guys don't do it in-house. So there's these folks out here that are doing that, and so these guys have a niche, to deal with small markets. There were two other people that I think responded, but neither one of them had the experience and the qualifications that Forecast Inc. has. So we're way better off going with the guys we had last year than trying to break in a new crew. So I'd entertain a motion to approve the agreement with Forecast Inc.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Your Honor.
Go ahead.
At the very bottom, shows 5.5 million, and they get a bonus of $5,000. Is that the total revenue that comes across?
Yes, I believe that is the total amount. What this costs us is, I'm sorry, I should have been.
No, I didn't mean it that way. What I'm trying to really say is, let's be crazy, not actually, and say that they generated annual revenue of 8.5 million. Would that reduce our out-of-pocket costs?
That would eliminate it.
And so it would be well worth $50,000 to eliminate our total expense.
It would, see. And so the idea is that, well, okay,
They sell tickets, and we get out of support. Wonderful.
That would be the idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so that they would maximize their revenue as our MRG disappeared. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Because $8 million is what the plane costs. So when we get to the point where we get to that point, then that our relationship with Denver Air Connections changes considerably. They'll probably continue to fly in here the same way they're doing right now as a kind of a charter thing, but because that's the model that they operate under. But at the same time, if they could pick up Cheyenne, if they could pick up a couple other cities, I know they're bidding for essential air service contracts to other communities. If they could pick those things up, then that might change the way they fly. But right now, we're still doing this charter thing, and it's necessary to have somebody do that. If we got to the point where they were making more than what it was costing them to fly, then we could come back and say, well, you guys have to hire forecast now. Okay? You know, things, the whole thing had changed. And if we were boarding 13,000 people out of Riverton, like we did 4 years ago, that's where we'd be.
Well, they've certainly shown reliability.
Right, great reliability. Okay. So anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye, and the motion passes. Council committee reports, council member roundtable. Anybody got anything to report since the last meeting? City administrator's report, please.
Your Honors, I simply have a reminder that the next regular meeting that's supposed to be held July 4th has been rescheduled to July 11th.
July 11th.
And then you will have two back-to-back regular meetings, the 11th and the 18th, and those have been advertised.
Okay.
And I won't be here the 11th.
Neither will I, Your Honor. I'll be in New York City.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's what I say.
Yeah.
You're
Do you
wrong.
get to be in New York City?
No, I'll be in Crooked Creek shooting a wedding.
Shooting a wedding.
A wedding.
Cool.
Okay, all right.
Your Honor.
So, yes, go ahead.
We've postponed several times voting on the council budget for the advertisement, and I looked at the printout showing the revenue coming from Riverton was roughly 67%, and yet we only get 37% of the bed tax money, and there's no advertising for our airplane. Why is that?
That's the question.
Yeah, that's my question. Why is that?
That's our question.
Oh,
And that's why we haven't voted on it yet.
well,
That is the question.
I mean, we have the lion's share of the receipts, and I guess I'm just old-fashioned, but why do we fund somebody else's facility when we're taking in the lion's share and not receiving, and we're getting the lamb's portion of the budget?
Yeah, and so the question is, how do they advertise that? Okay, and so a huge amount of the publicity that happens from the Wind River Visitors Council is in marketing that goes out in national magazines across the country. And so it's hard to say that Riverton doesn't get any of it because it talks about Fremont County in general. And, and so there are issues there. And there are places in that where they do advertise the airport, okay? And Denver Air Connections and that type of thing. So they do, it does show up in publications. The problem is that I don't think that data gets teased out very well, okay? But our response that we've gotten, and we haven't seen a good budget, and we say so, and we could use some additional funding for advertising, and I guess we're trying to give them an opportunity to tell us how it works. Okay, all right. And so I'm not exactly sure when they have to have a budget because they're technically, I think, a 501c something okay, nonprofit organization, and so they're not compelled, they don't have to budget the same way the government entities do. Okay?
Okay.
Anything else? Mayor's comments? Boy, I had a really nice trip. I think that's the longest I've ever been gone on a vacation since I came to Riverton over 40 years ago. Gone 2 weeks, all in one chunk. And I'm glad we got home today. I'm glad I'm home. And
It's nice to go, and it's really great to come back.
it's really good to come back. Yeah, and
It's always fun to see the sign, "Welcome to Wyoming."
yeah, welcome to Wyoming. Yeah. Okay, and so we've got that. We have an executive session tonight on personnel. The chair would entertain a motion to convene into executive session for the purpose of personnel considering the employment, right to practice, dismissal, complaints, or charges against a public officer, professional person, or employee in accordance with Wyoming Statute 16-4-405A2, and for the purpose of considering offers, tendering wages, salaries, benefits, or terms of employment during negotiations in accordance with Wyoming Statute 16-4-405A10.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We stand convened into executive session at 8:12. And the chair invites Courtney and Kristen. Okay, and the rest of you guys could go home. And we don't have any press here. And so I don't think we're going to take any action, but if we do, I guess Kristen can write it down. Okay? Okay. So do you want to just sit here and let everybody else leave, or do you want to go in the back room? Go to the back room. Into regular session at 8:30 PM. Are there do we need to take any action on this, or do you need motion? No. No action? Okay. Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 We are adjourned at 8:30. Still 8:30. Okay? Maybe we ought to come back at 8:29, huh? Okay, we're done. Thank you.
We adjourned as we walked through the room.